Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be casually comparing and contrasting a $500 watch with a $3,000 watch. Let me give you some examples. You'll hear some watch snobs say, don't bother with anything less than a Rolex or an Omega. You know, everything else is crap, it's poop. And I think that is just so stupid. Oh my goodness, so stupid. And then you'll hear some affordable lovers I think sound equally stupid when they say things like, well, I'm just not paying for name branding or advertising. My Seiko is just as good as an Omega. It's in-house, and really, my watch is actually better because I'm smarter and spending less money. You know, and you hear these two types of viewpoints. And guys, again, let me say, I think both of them are wrong. I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I'm going to tell you my opinion. Take it as you will. There is a noticeable difference between affordable watches and luxury watches. Now, how big that difference I guess you could say how big you value that difference plays into whether you want to spend luxury money on a watch or affordable money on a watch. Now, let's run by these two real quick. On the left is the affordable, the Seiko SBDC 069. This is the Blue Coral Sumo. It's an awesome in-house watch from Seiko, which is my personal favorite brand, one of my favorite modern diver designs, and it's completely in-house. Seiko designs and manufactures everything, including the hairsprings, the Hardlex mineral crystal, the Lumibrite formula, the oils in the movement. They do it all, and they do a very good job. And this thing costs about $500, which for the price point is a very solid and very powerful purchase. You know, I think it's a good one, a really good one. Now let's compare that with the Breitling. On this watch cloth, we have the Breitling Super Ocean Heritage B20 automatic in 44. It's a retro inspired or heritage inspired design from Breitling's original diver that debuted back in 1957, one of the original diver designs in that era. And they did a very good job in staying true to the vintage design DNA, but creating a thoroughly modern watch with the ceramic bezel and a Tudor in-house manufacture movement, which I personally am very impressed with. Now, when it comes to the differences, are there differences? Because you look visually, and especially from afar, from a glance, you just see large, beautiful blue watches. But it's not until you really delve into the details that you see the nuances, they come to the surface, and you can tell where the money's going, where the disparity is when it comes to the price. Let's start with the Seiko. Let me pull it up in front of the camera and talk about it. It's a very beautiful, very well-made watch. I'd say the strength of this is actually going to be your case. There's a lot of finesse and craftsmanship displayed here, a lot of beauty. I like the design, how sharp the edges are, the delineation between brush and polish. I think it's very handsome, and it really holds its own against any watch. I think costing $1,000 or less, it's very well done for the price point. And I gotta mention, this one has been discontinued. Seiko has updated the Sumo. I am a fan of the new Sumo, but it carries a price premium and is now considered, an $800 watch, not a $500 watch anymore. But we have kind of mushy, kind of tingy bezel action, aluminum insert. Again, we have a Hardlex mineral crystal. I believe there's some anti-reflective treatment, one layer on the underside of the crystal. And then you have faux applied markers, meaning that the lume is printed on metallic discs. So they are real applied markers, but they're not deep filled like what you'd see on watches costing about $1,000 or more, and certainly found on a lot of luxury watches. You have a bracelet that leaves something to be desired. Each link is held together by a pin and tube or a pin and collar system. It's got a little bit of flex and rattle to it, and the clasp is derided by watch fans as being cheap pressed metal, kind of cheap action, but very functional. Here's the case back, handsome. I think overall the watch is amazing. And if you got $500, it's gonna be hard to do better than the Seiko Sumo, especially if you're looking for an in-house original design and manufacture watch. Now let's compare that and contrast that with the Breitling. Now again, guys, this is the far more expensive watch, so you expect the Breitling to just beat the snot out of the Seiko, beat the pants off the Seiko when it comes to execution. And I'd say in most instances, yes, it does a good job. If you look at the crystal, you got a beautiful sapphire crystal, cambered, multiple layers of anti-reflective treatment on the top as well as the bottom, so you get the clarity and you also get the iridescent sheen with a little bit of visible light play off of harsh reflections. So that's very well done. Large, long hands. Let me do some macro contrasting where you can see a little bit of roughness, just a slight amount of roughness to the Seiko, whereas everything on the Breitling is just clean and tidy as can be. The grain to the sunburst, the little rounded bevels to the applied markers. The Breitling has done a very, very nice job with that. And there's little details, you know, the logo is printed on the Seiko, whereas on the Breitling you get that applied B just below the 12 o'clock position and a matching date window as opposed to a white date window on the Seiko. So there's going to be little differences in the nuances. The bezel action on the Breitling is, there's no comparison to the Seiko. Yes, you do have ceramic, but the action is much more secure and precise and, I don't know, just overall upscale. But again, guys, you're expecting these things when you're spending far more and multiple times more than on the Seiko. If you look at the case, that's the only thing that I think doesn't easily win when you contrast it with the Seiko. Because yes, it's well finished, there's no hot spots, but it's entirely polished. There is no finesse and craftsmanship displayed with different finishes and such. It's a little bit basic, and you could argue is a little bit blingy. You look at the Milanese mesh, which is really nice. There is no cheap feel to this whatsoever. The links are held together via screws, from this side. Screws are on that side. And then your clasp, although it does leave something to be desired when you're comparing it to other $3,000 watches, it's nice and milled and thick, and the action is just, I don't know, a lot more resounding and assuring than what you'd find on the Seiko. Here's the case back, just basic and polished, but the differences are here, and I think you guys can see that. The action to the winding and the setting is going to be huge on the Tudor in-house movement in the Breitling than it is on the Seiko in-house movement on the Seiko. So yes, let me kind of reiterate here. The Breitling is the nicer watch, but it should be. The Seiko is amazing for the price point and definitely can hold its own against other watches in its price point. But when you start comparing it to watches that cost 3, 4, 5 times the price, then yeah, you are going to see where its shortcomings are, except for the lume. The Seiko lume, LumaBrite, it will just beat the snot out of basically anybody else. I mean, LumaBrite's the best, as we Seikopaths have come to know and love. So anyways, guys, let me reiterate, I'm not a fan of either thought process like, hey, only buy luxury, only buy affordable, everything less than $500 is total poop, don't waste your time. You know, I'm not in either one of those types of camps. I love affordable, I love luxury, I love high horology. I think there's a place for it all. I do genuinely enjoy it all. But yes, my own opinion, there is a noticeable difference between a $500 watch and a $3,000 watch. The difference is in the details, it's in the movement, it's in the finesse, the clarity, the sharpness. And you know, some guys, they like looking down at their wrist and seeing Rolex or Omega or Breitling and getting that little puff of pride like, yeah, I've got a really expensive watch. And if someone sees that, they're going to think that I'm really, you know, wealthy. And there's guys that think that way. And there's also guys that like to be stealth and say, yeah, I've got a Seiko, this is in-house. And if someone looks at it, they'll just go, hey, nice watch. And they won't judge me for spending stupid amounts of money on something that tells me the time, you know, like my phone can do. And the only time I'll have a watch conversation is with another watch idiot savant because they recognize my stealth nature, my watch choices. I'm not necessarily in either one of those camps. Again, I like it all. I like the affordable, I like the luxury, but yes, I do believe there is a noticeable difference. It's just up to you on whether you think that difference carries enough oomph to make you want to spend the premium or continue to enjoy at the affordable price point. Again, there's merits to each one. Hope you guys found this inevitable. I hope you guys found this video enjoyable and not too obnoxious. Let me know what you think. I'm interested to hear your opinions. I'll see you guys in the comments section.